Welcome to Ladies Kicking Ass. I'm your host, Tanya Wilson, and I'm crazy passionate about encouraging women to tell their hard-earned stories, provide coaching and creative ideas to help you build the service business of your dreams. What's different about this podcast? Well, we are real, and that means most of us are trying to juggle all the things. Being an entrepreneur, mama, wife, sister, friend, doggy mama, and all those other titles that we love. This life is a dance, and we celebrate every twist, step, and dip along the way. This show chats about our wins, our losses, business, relationships, family, and how to get the hell out of our own way and believe in ourselves and our big ideas. The Ladies Kickin' Ass community is full of strong, generous women who support, mentor, and cheer for each other. So, come on, let's get inspired and learn something new today. Welcome to the Ladies Kickin' Ass podcast. Okay, so today, if you struggle with or have a love-hate relationship with the word money, this show is going to rock your world. My guest today is the lovely Tracey Ingram, a money mindset transformational coach from Milford, Delaware, and she is helping women all over the internet world. Tracey is a former corporate CFO and has experienced plenty of money stresses herself. Throughout her work and her personal experiences, she identified that most women entrepreneurs that she talked to had doubts and concerns about money that went way beyond basic bookkeeping issues and QuickBooks questions. It was much deeper for them. I'm excited to hear what she's discovered and how she's decided to use her own professional personal experiences to help women find their greatest financial selves. So, Tracey, welcome to the show today.
Thank you, Tanya. Thanks for having me on.
I'm very excited about this conversation because I know this is a battle that I have fought myself. So why don't we go ahead and just start with the basics in the beginning? Tell us all about you and what's your why behind what you're doing today?
Okay. My why, I guess, is the reason that I do what I do is because I want to ultimately have a life of more freedom from that I did not have at my 9-to-5. And I want to help other women that sort of are maybe where I was when I started out, which was having a lot of concerns and fears. And we had fairly crippling stress, I did anyway, about our financial situation. And it was pervasive, right? So if I was stressed about my money, it was affecting my sleep, which was affecting my energy, which was affecting how I ate. It was pervasive. And so I realized that with my experience, I could help other ladies get through what I got through, but much faster.
Yes, that is the whole point of the Ladies Kicking Ass community, is having a network of women that can help you with whatever your struggle might be in business or just as women ourselves too. We can't forget that we are not just our businesses, but being able to get to places quicker, faster, more efficiently, and with less pain and stress involved. And the fact of knowing that you're not the only one that has been to this problem. Because with money situations, I know for me in the past, and I'm sure this is probably familiar with you too, I'd love to hear your story about how you think you feel so alone in a money situation because it is such a, it's not even a taboo thing to talk about. I wouldn't use that. That's a weird word to use with it, but like people don't want other people to know that they struggle with money. It's like this, I am my money situation is who I am. Do you see that with the people that you work with, or did you feel that before?
I do absolutely see it with the people I work with, and I certainly felt it on a personal level. Yes, absolutely. I was very ashamed of where we were when we started this process.
Yeah, you're like, how the hell did I even get into this place? And now I'm too embarrassed to even ask anybody to help, you know?
I absolutely said, how did I get here? And what the hell am I doing here? And I should know better. I said, if I said that once a day to myself, I said it a dozen times, I should know better.
Yeah. But you know what? Everybody makes mistakes and they get into situations. So let's talk about your experience with your money situation, if you don't mind. Like what place did you find yourself in and where did you get to?
I was working and I had a job that paid me fairly well, and it was very stable, but I was miserable. And I had been miserable for quite some time, and I had done some interviewing in hopes of leaving. The jobs that I was offered were not comparable in pay. And so I began telling my story, telling myself the story that basically that was the best I could hope for. And so I just needed to suck it up and deal with it. And as I became more unhappy and more miserable, we started like going out to dinner every night after work, because I came home and I was grouchy and I didn't feel like cooking. And then I would buy little things to make myself feel better. So we racked up, I'm sure we had some other things around the house or whatever that we bought, but we didn't have anything to show for it. And by the time I ultimately left, we had 5 figures of credit card debt, and we had nothing to show for it. One of the things they tell you when you start with a personal finance business often is sell some of the nice things you own to start putting that money towards debt. And we didn't have anything to sell because, I had just been compensating for being so miserable. And so one day at that job, I was in a meeting, and I had been unhappy, and they knew I was unhappy, and they had just been adding more and more to my workload. And I just said, I'm not going to do that. And they said, excuse me. And I said, I'm just not going to do that. I'm not taking on that responsibility. That was somebody else's, another department's responsibility. And they said, well, you have to. And I said, no, I don't. And I just stood up and I shook their hands and I walked out. I grabbed my purse. I never grabbed my belongings or anything. I just came back later and grabbed those, but I was done. And so I cried on the way home, because I really identified, like, that job was my personal identity. I took a lot of pride in it. And then once I got home and I had stopped crying about that, I knew what our financial situation was, and I knew it wasn't good. And I knew I had to tell my husband, who knew it wasn't great, but really is not, it really doesn't bother him. That's not a thing for him. So I started thinking about what was going on, and I started, I don't even remember then if we were going online or just calling the credit card companies to get balances. But in any case, I started with a pen and paper and putting everything down on paper, and I figured out where we were, and I cried some more. Yeah. And by the end of the day, I had checked out Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover out of the library, and just started getting a plan together for myself, for us. When I say me, I mean my husband and I, but like I said, he's fairly fluid with what's going on and just lets me handle it.
Yeah.
And
I have that situation too, but sometimes it's like that scary thing of like, it's almost, did you feel like with the situation with your husband, yeah, he was a little fluid with it, but did you feel at any point like you had kind of let him down with a situation that you ended up in?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was my big fear in telling him. I was not concerned nearly as much about the money itself or what that meant. I was totally embarrassed and almost overwhelmed that I had let him down.
Yeah.
And it was, that was the biggest thing beyond everything else. Like, everything else could fall away. And I was just so ashamed that I had let him down, and myself.
Sure. And I think that's one of those things that's a good place to stop and really think about too, because when you feel like that and it's revolved around money, this is where the attachment, it's not the physical $100 bill that we're worried about. It's all the emotion that goes around that. Either I wasn't a good steward of this money, I let someone who depended on me to take care of it down, I let people, maybe you're a business owner and you've gotten into bad business debt, I've let my team down, I've let, there's a lot of emotional damage that comes with that too. And we self-inflict that because no one is telling us that. It's something that we have internalized. So how did you get past that?
Just a little bit at a time. I started using Dave Ramsey's baby steps. I didn't agree and still don't agree with some of what he says. For example, I never stopped contributing to my 401k. I knew we were not going to be gazelle intense. I knew that wasn't my husband's personality. And I knew if I was going to keep him on board, that I was going to have to move at his pace. And that was not going to be gazelle intense. So we never stopped doing that. We later on, as we got through the process, we separately totaled 2 cars and had to replace those. And I had worked in the car business, so I had friends in the car business. So we bought new cars to replace them. And I know Dave Ramsey would just, have a kitten if he heard that. But it was the right decision for us. like I said, I'm not going to get into all it was, but it was the right reason for us. I'm happy to discuss it, but we're on a time frame here. So I just started, implementing his baby steps, and we started cutting out everything extra. And initially we went fairly drastic, and then we added back in the things that we wanted. And the really, really interesting thing, which I think is the thing that I find most interesting about this, is how much stuff we thought we were attached to that we really weren't. Like how many, what spending we thought was essential to our happiness that really wasn't, which was incredibly interesting to me. And then as we freed up more money, we were able to add things back in that we did not have in our lives, like attending rock concerts, because I thought we didn't have the money. So it was really interesting to see how we literally transformed once we started on this process.
Yes. Sometimes it's good to go right back to the bottom line, cut everything out. I know that there's a lot of financial experts, even in business, that will talk about that, about cutting everything down to zero and then add them back in. Like, if you had to just make this decision again today to pay for this, would you? And it's amazing how much money you can save just from that,
Yes.
And I'm very much of this money mindset situation of, and I love Dave Ramsey. I do. I can sit and listen to him forever, because he does have some very good, just old school knowledge and everything, and kind of this no bullshit thing too, which I appreciate very much in today's world. But there are different levels of things that make people comfortable in being able to do that. So how long did it take you guys to get to where you were financially free or debt free, or what was your major end goal for that?
We had the credit card debt done in about 10 months, which was good, because then my husband totaled his truck. So, and then that was in April of 2008. And then in August of 2008, he was a carpenter, and that was when the economy tanked. So he lost his job. So it was definitely great timing. And so we ended up getting debt free. We took on no more credit card debt. We stayed debt free for that way. And we only had one car payment. I think that happened like January of 2009. We went to just one car payment. And it took us 11 years to get completely debt free. Like I said, we bought 2 new cars. We did some fairly substantial additional work to our house. We needed a roof. We did not have air conditioning, so we ended up investing in that. And we paid cash for all of those things. So I knew it would not be gazelle intense, because I knew we had these other things to incorporate. But
Sure.
Yeah, 11 years.
Absolutely. Well, that's an amazing thing. And the thing that people need to really realize with that, you might think 11 years, oh my God, that's so long. Time's going to pass anyways. Whether you start or you don't, you're going to be in that completely different situation. Even a year from now, you look back at the things that were so big to you then, and you're like, well, that was easy.
Absolutely. And then at some point we started, like I said, we started adding in the concerts. We started taking annual vacations, because I'm a big advocate of, you can't stop living just because you have this thing. You still have to have a quality of life. So we were able to incorporate that in also.
That's fantastic, because I think when people go, and this is something that I don't agree on either with Dave Ramsey stuff of cut everything out. You can't do anything until you're debt free with stuff. That would drive somebody freaking crazy. I would go nuts. You've got to be able to still enjoy those things. I too love to go to rock concerts and go on vacations and make those memories with your family and with your spouse too. It's just so very important to make sure that you're continuing to do that. So with all of that stuff that you have been through, obviously you have a financial background that you worked with in your professional life of things. What made you want to start working with women entrepreneurs and dealing with their money mindset?
Well, I left my 9 to 5. It was just a year ago, last month. And initially I was going to be a bookkeeper. I did that for a few months, and I liked it. And I liked working with women in particular, because I do feel like women have unique challenges that men don't have. Men have confidence that women typically do not. Men typically and again, we're talking stereotypes, but
Sure.
typically
Sure.
men tend to veer towards overconfident and women tend to veer towards less confident. I mean, we see that in how women apply for jobs. Men apply for jobs they're not qualified, they're only 60% qualified for, and women feel like they have to be overqualified in order to apply for it. So I knew that I wanted to work with women because I felt like women needed the help and were more open to suggestion maybe than men sometimes are, especially from a woman. And I feel like women are not given the same advice, especially growing up, that boys and men are. We're even if we're told that you can do anything, we're also told subliminally often, but it wouldn't hurt to have a good earner on your side to be your backup guy, right? So I knew I wanted to work with women on that, and I enjoyed working with women. But as I was talking to the women about their bookkeeping and everything, I realized that their stress and their concern was far beyond just their business bookkeeping. It was pervasive throughout their lives and the decisions they were making. And at some point, as I was talking to women, I realized I was completely burnt out on bookkeeping.
Yeah.
I'd been doing it almost 30 years, and I just decided that maybe that wasn't the way to go. And I also realized that, honestly, I think I wanted to do the coaching all along, but I didn't believe that people would pay me to help them. I thought that I had to produce clean books, right? I had to produce a product. And at some point I was able to grow beyond that mindset and shift and believe in myself enough to say, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to do this.
Yes. What did you do you said you had to grow through that. What were some of the things that you were telling yourself in your head about, and that was allowing you to limit yourself there, that you had to grow through?
When I first left my 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Again, I really didn't believe that anybody would, it's not that I didn't believe that coaching was a real thing. I absolutely did, because I hired a coach. I didn't believe people would value my experience, my mindset, my beliefs enough to pay me for them, to share those with them. I just didn't. I thought that I had to provide. I was brought up that you go to work, you put in a hard day's work, because that's what your boss expects of you. And so I thought that I had to put in a hard day's work if somebody was going to hire me.
Sure. You didn't think that people would pay you for your knowledge, and that is something that you could help people with.
Right.
Very interesting. And it's so, you know what, and I think that is such a limiting mindset for so many people, is that, especially in the niche that this podcast is for, the trades, you go to work and you're in the office from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. I mean, these people put in serious hours worth of time. 9 to 5 is like a dream job for a tradesperson,
Right.
So a lot of them are 24 hours a day. There is massive value, I would say, in the women that are a part of this community, because many of them are leaders in these trades businesses or owners of these businesses. And we think so much that we have to be there every waking moment that a business is open, and that is not true whatsoever. When you've put in systems and you believe that you can train other people to run that business for you, it's so amazing to do that. And that's a big growth thing that people have to go through with this industry and the things that we talk about. I think one of the big parts of that, I know for myself, having been through so much shit in the past of like getting money, losing money, getting money, losing money, and sometimes the trades is a roller coaster of money in, money out. Construction is a cash flow nightmare, people say. And I think it's truly just getting to know all of the things that you need to know to be able to manage those a little bit better. And I think the biggest problem that women in this industry face is just the lack of knowledge in this industry. So if you were to give the women that are listeners in this community a piece of advice as far as what they should be implementing in their own business to be a little less money stressed, what would that advice be?
Well, the construction business in general tends to sort of follow the economy, and I feel like it sort of lags behind the economy. I worked for an electrical contractor for 14 years, and I sort of saw that with them, is that it took them a little while for the recession to hit in 2008. And then it took a little while for them to come out after the rest of the world had started. So I think that's something to keep in mind, is that you are going to be affected, but also something can affect your industry or niche that doesn't have anything to do with the larger economy. So I feel like it's always a good idea to sort of have a rainy day fund, or at least a contingency plan. A credit card that you don't carry a balance on, or something like that, a line of credit so that you can cover your payroll if things, start to get tight for, a few weeks or whatever. I would say, that would always be, because it's going to help you not stress right away, right? And pivot, maybe you can, it gives you some time to, and of course, the larger your buffer, the more time and freedom it gives you to make different decisions. But you probably, if you are a business owner, know what you need to do to get your business moving again a little bit. So maybe you just need to call some former clients and see if they need some more work or something like that. I just always feel like having some extra money on hand or having access to it is certainly a big peace of mind. And knowing where you're at in your business with your money, always having some idea where you're at with your money. And if you're a business owner and it's paying your bills, then it's affecting your personal life. So, it's always a good idea to also have that cushion in your personal life and know where you're at with your money in your personal life. At the same time, it's not enough just to have your business. They're so intertwined if you're a business owner.
Oh, absolutely. And I think one of the, when I polled the ladies kicking ass community, the top two things that they were worried about in their business was marketing and finances.
Mm-hmm.
And they were pretty damn close to each other. And one is getting the people to come in to be customers there. And then what the hell do I do with the money after I make this thing? I think that is a big part of the money stress points too, is knowing where you're at. That's a challenge that I would love to give to this community too. Sit down if you're married or you have a significant other and see where you are at. I know that sounds like a huge, I don't know. Or if you are someone that is in charge of the money, that might be where you got to eat some humble pie and sit down and really see where you're at. But most of the stress with business finances and personal, if you're a business owner, they're one and the same of things. That is not knowing where you're at. Is that your experience that you've seen with people too?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's so easy to let, just even if you have good intentions, it's so easy to let time slip away. And, if you're a business owner, you're a busy person, right? You're a busy lady and you've got people pulling at you from all different directions. So it's really easy to let taking care of your money is a form of self-care also, right? So that's easy to let that slip, just like we let other self-care slip, because other people are knocking at our door, or the phone's ringing, and the money is just being ignored silently.
Yes. It gets to a point where you're like, well, my bills are getting paid, so I guess I'm good. That is not running a business. That is letting the business run itself.
Yes.
So it's a really, and that's a good thing that I did learn from Dave Ramsey too, is tell your money where it needs to go. You have to be able to do that. Otherwise, it's amazing how that shit just seeps out wherever it can possibly find a little thing. You're just watching it for 1 month. That was my challenge with my business. Let's just watch the spending for 1 month and see where we're at. We cut thousands of dollars of just stupid spending stuff that was going out that didn't need to. Duplicate subscriptions. I mean, seriously, start off with subscriptions that you use for software products. Your mind will be blown in how much you're spending on those.
Yes, absolutely.
It's crazy. I mean, if they're helping you with things, fantastic, but it's amazing how many of them will do just so many things. I had a subscription to one thing that could have that did take 5 other subscriptions away, because that one subscription actually offered all of the things that I was paying other companies for. So it's very interesting in how you are able to kind of go back to zero and see what it looks like and then move on from there. But that money stress is the unknown. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. So really sitting down and looking at it is so amazing. Is that what you feel like is one of the first steps that you tell your clients to do when they're looking at their money stuff, or how do you view that?
Yeah, no, I think you absolutely have to know where you either have to already know where you're at, or you have to be willing to get there really quickly. Because honestly, if you're not in that place, you're not ready for a transformation, honestly. And I don't want to take somebody's money who's not willing, who's not in the right place to transform.
Sure.
So yeah.
So with your coaching practice, if someone is interested in working with you and interested in learning about money transformation, where do they start at? What services do you offer?
Right now, I'm only offering one-to-one. I don't know if my internet's holding up. It's telling me it's unstable. But right now, I'm offering one-to-one, and for the month of I'm all for 60-minute sessions, and for the month of September, I'm offering them at $99 per hour.
Nice.
And typically, it takes a couple of months for people to really see a transformation. So typically, I would advise people to plan on probably doing 6 sessions, 2 weeks apart. So you're looking at like a 3-month commitment there.
Okay.
And I also intend to ultimately build into a group coaching package. So if one-to-one coaching doesn't work for somebody right now, the best option is to join my group. I go live in my group every week, and sometimes more often than that. And I'm always willing to help people out in that. And if somebody has something that's more pervasive than just me being able to, do it in a post or a quick little, DM, then I'll if it's, if they can talk to me about what's going on, I'll do a live about it the next week so that I can help somebody get squared away a little bit or whatever. And then I do intend to open a group package at some point in the near future. So the best thing is to join my group, stay in my area and see.
That is amazing. And we are going to post the link for your Facebook group here in the show notes, so everyone will have very easy access to be able to get in and join your Facebook group. I will also post your website link in here. And then you do offer a freebie as well. Why don't you tell them what your freebie is that you offer?
Yeah, I have a fairly brief PDF. It will take you less than 10 minutes to read over it, and it's the 5 financial mistakes that are keeping you stressed, and it's just sort of some basic things that you can do. Some fairly quickly, some are a little more involved to implement in your business and personal life, but they are good starting points to start taming the chaos that you might be experiencing.
Yes, I think all of that is so incredibly helpful. And one little tip might be able to help somebody, rest a little easier at night. There is nothing worse than money stress because you feel so small in this world of money. And just being able to learn more about it. I highly encourage everyone in this community to find some help with your finances if this is something that you struggle with, because your entire business truly revolves around how great your financial plan is. Do you see that yourself too?
I absolutely do. And again, when if your confidence is not great in your money, it's affecting every area of your life.
Yes.
So if
I
your
know
money
when I'm stressed about money, that's everything. Like, I'm not
yes.
as nice to my kids. I'm surely probably not as nice to my husband
Yes.
and your team and everything. It seeps out everywhere. That it does. It's
Yes.
one of those that's just crazy. And I feel like a lot of that is just because people don't know what they feel like they need to know. But there's in the world that we live in today, there is so much information. And if you follow Tracey too, you will get information all the time through her Facebook group. And that is just so incredible. So one of the biggest things in closing here, Tracey, that one of the biggest last questions is we love to give one big piece of advice that you have on money mindset. And if someone is really drowning in this area or really struggling with what money means to them, what would be your biggest piece of advice for them to start feeling a little more at ease with their money mindset?
With the mindset itself, I would say take note of what stories you're telling yourself on a daily basis, what you're telling yourself about your money. For example, I mentioned, when I first started this, I was telling myself I really should know how to do this. I've told myself I was really irresponsible for getting myself in that situation. But even, when I said I left my 9 to 5, I was telling myself that people wouldn't pay me for my knowledge, right? So I would look at the stories you're telling yourself and then ask yourself if it's really the truth, or is it a tale that you have made up and bought into? So that would be the one thing. And then the other thing is, if your money is not great, your money situation isn't great, it's really easy to be scared and overwhelmed and not want to look at that and not want to take an assessment of where you're at. But it's always less scary once you look at where you're at, because the unknown is like the monster under your bed, right? But then once you look at what's going on, oftentimes you realize that there are little things that you can do, or it's more clear to you. And it's less scary. It's, you turn on the light and you realize there's no monster at all. It was just your slippers.
Yes. And if you've experienced that in your business before, I will tell you that most of the time, in my experience, it's a hell of a lot worse in my head than it ever is on a piece of paper. So
Yes.
Be kind to yourself, because going
Yes.
into it beating yourself up is not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah. If we only talk to ourselves like we talk to our friends, we would be so much better off.
Yes. You know what? And I have to share this too in closing. I was listening to this podcast. It was on Ed Milet's podcast, but there was a gentleman on there talking about, it was all about relationships. And one of his biggest things was a conversation that you have with yourself in the mirror every morning, that every woman in this space that is working on personal development or business development is aware of the self-love thing, the self-love. You got to love yourself. But he's like, how many of us look in the mirror and actually like what we see? Like, do we like ourselves? You can love your family and your crazy family, but do you really like them? Sometimes you don't, sometimes you have this crazy friend that you love them in your heart, but they're just not really your cup of tea. Self-love is never truly fulfilled until you genuinely like yourself. And that is giving yourself a damn break about being human. And we all make mistakes. And it is so important that we look at ourselves in the mirror and realize, I'm a human. I am doing better every single day. I'm in competition with no one but myself. I like myself, which in turn will start radiating that self-love. And it's so important with financial stuff. I mean, people literally commit suicide over things that are dealing with money, which can always be fixed at some point.
Yes.
I personally know people that has happened to, and I am deeply motivated to help people be able to wrap their brain around, like, just get at a starting point. Right. If you got to lose 70 pounds, you got to know where you're at, that creepy little scale you got to stand on
Right.
in order to know how much you've got to go. So this has been such a beautiful conversation about really, thank you so much for sharing your experience with this and being real and raw with us with that, and helping other women realize, if they're brave enough that they can have these conversations, then I need to at least do this with myself, or the people that are loving and depending on me and my business and my family. So I think this will be able to help a lot of women. So thank you so much for sharing that with us today.
Thank you. And if anybody wants a little nudge or a little help, they're welcome to join the group and just reach out to me or DM me and just reach out to me. I'll, and help them and encourage them any way I can and help get them started.
That's
it is fantastic. A lot to carry alone.
Yes, it is. So reach out to Tracey. I'm sure she will be more than helpful. She's been so helpful on the podcast today. So thank you so much for your time today, Tracey. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And
very
ladies,
much.
Everything that we discussed today is going to be in the show notes. There will also be a link for you to be able to go and download that freebie that we were just talking about with the 5 mistakes. And then if you want to visit the Facebook group and join that, she's just completely full of financial help with you. So thank you.
Thank you.
I did want to add to this special episode that Tracey is running a amazing live program on Facebook on her Facebook group page, which is in the show notes, on September 13th, 14th, and 15th. A very creative and wonderful way for you to get started on your biggest money transformation. She's going to talk about where to find cash, 10 ways to save, ways to create more money, and then also address her one-to-one coaching program that she offers. Be sure to check it out. Again, that's September 13th, 14th, and 15th on Tracey's Money Transformational Coaching Facebook group that is linked in the show notes. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Ladies Kickin' Ass podcast. I hope you loved it. Hey, if you got a lot out of today's show and you think a friend of yours may love it too, please do me a really quick favor. Screenshot the episode, post it, tag us at Ladies Kickin' Ass, or share the link to the episode. I'm here to help and support as many ladies as I can, and your generosity in sharing the show means the world to me. Don't forget, hit subscribe to be notified of all newly released episodes, and leaving the show a 5-star review is the ultimate expression of love for our team. If you're interested in becoming a guest on the podcast, I would so love to hear from you. Shoot me a DM on Instagram or Facebook and we'll chat further. Thank you for being part of our tribe, and until next time, go kick some ass, lady.